Last time we left off in the favela of Rio das Pedras, and we had just taken custody of, I guess, of Kazmut's little cultists, who let you know about some things, and you've concluded at this point in your sort of investigation to what has actually happened in, well, basically the past 24 hours in Rio. You've decided to go out and maybe consult John, is that you refreshing your Roll20? Yeah, okay. So you've determined that you're going to go consult with Opardal Vermelho, who is the Red Sparrow, also known as Teshra Gemet, who is an Arisen in Rio. You recall her from your previous life. She is a local, let's say a local power. You recall her having station, so to speak, in Rio, stature among the Arisen of Rio. And you also recall where at least her public tomb is. It is in the Centro district, the downtown, which I'm pinging now on the map. So it's in downtown Rio, and it is in fact in the penthouse layers of Rio's tallest building, 76 stories. And the building is called RS Global. I'll put that in chat. It is called that because the corporation that owns it is called RS Global. And it is a 24-hour operation. However, obviously, it's rather less occupied in the hours of night. And we're currently, I think, somewhat past midnight on this particular evening. So we caught into you standing on the sidewalk in front of RS Global, the tower of gleaming, seemingly polished onyx, but you know it to be glass and steel. It towers over the rest of the downtown heart of Rio, which this is merely the tallest building. There are many others which are also quite tall, taller than you recall or think that you have seen in your lives. Mortals these days seem to be very efficient in building monuments very high up into the sky, as if inspired by the pillars of ancient Irem itself. But you find yourselves on the pavement outside RS Global. You can see through the big glass panes that form the walls and also the automatic doors of RS Global. And you can see the reception desk, which is being staffed throughout the night and the day. What is it you do?
Just a quick query. Obviously, we know that the Red Sparrow's actual name is Teshra Gemet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming the answer is going to be no, but I sort of ask. Do we have any memory if she goes by a more modern name?
No, the ones that you have are Teshra Gemet for her quote unquote actual name, and then Opardal Vermelho, which is her sort of nickname.
Okay. So I think as we're stood there outside RS Global, sort of taking in this pallid imitation of the nameless city, I think I'm going to look to my brother Sobek, since my area of expertise tends to be people once they have passed on, rather than people in this life, and Sobek seems to be more au fait with, let's call them, the niceties of sort of socialising with people. And obviously this is we've seen previously when we've had to deal with like spirits and the Amcat and things like that. That I'm fine with that. I'm quite happy to be decisive, and it's an evil spirit. This is how we need to deal with it. However, when it comes to like a more normal situation, just walking into a building and talking to a receptionist, that's not really my area of expertise. So I think as we're sort of stood probably maybe 10 foot away from the automatic doors, preparing to go in and see Teshra Gemmet, I'm just going to sort of look at Sobek and wait for him to take the lead, because I know this is more his sort of area. He was in the sort of our brotherhood. If I was death, he was always more an embodiment of life, so I'm expecting him to take the lead.
Well then, Sobek takes in the entranceway as I'm walking up to the desk. Can I make sense of the words around me?
Everything's written in. Do you speak English?
I think I speak Portuguese. I think.
Yeah. So you see Portuguese and you see English. If you don't have English, then you can't read that. You notice the alphabet. It's the same one that the Portuguese texts use, and you see that. So it appears to be, if you have the context for it, it has all the trappings of a corporate office lobby. So it has all the signage of like, oh, this like bathroom here, and like meeting room so and so up the stairs and all that. And there's the info desk, which is also labeled in Portuguese and English.
I think as someone who understands like both Portuguese and English, I'm going to just sort of look at Sobek just as we're like walking through the doors and we're going in, and in a very quiet, subdued voice, I just say, there seem to be so many languages now, brother. I seem to remember it all being so much simpler.
It was. Watching the distilled remnants of greatness.
So you can see a fairly dark-skinned Brazilian man staffing the desk, who, as you walk in, he puts down like a book he was reading, sits up from his chair, and turns to you and addresses you in Portuguese. Welcome. How can we assist you here at this hour?
We are here to see the leader of this organization. Still sort of learning the right tongue, and I'm like...
It's like, oh, one moment. Goes and gets a book out and flips it around a bit. Goes through it. What did you say your names were? I'm not seeing a scheduled appointment at this time.
She is expecting us, but we do not have an official appointment.
Sorry. Who are you seeing, sirs?
Teshra Gemmet.
He looks a bit puzzled and a little bit confused, and you see him reach for, and it's for us, it is a telephone. So he picks up this thing that he puts onto his head, next to his head, and in a moment he starts speaking to it in Portuguese. It says, someone's at the front desk. They've said one of the words. What should I be doing? And he knows. Okay. Just okay. Thank you. I'll see you soon. And he puts the phone down and turns to you and says, please wait here. The duty manager will be with you shortly. Sure, I can't help you right now, so please just wait. and he
Very
looks
well.
uncomfortable, and he's just sort of awkwardly sits back in his chair, but he doesn't start reading his book again. He just sort of sits there and waits with you.
I'm guessing his mannerisms have changed. Like he's on a more of a defensive front now.
Yeah, you can see he's like out of his element now.
Yeah.
Like something's going on that he's not entirely clear of, and he's uncomfortable.
He gestured to like a room or just to wait in the foyer.
Oh, he's just asked you to wait. You can see some chairs around a tasteful arrangement of flowers and plants.
I'll approach my brother.
I was going to say, whilst you're approaching, if I can, I'd like to use my death sight on him, which will allow me to like read his vice and his relative like levels of morality.
Ooh.
Just mainly because I'm trying to like orientate myself and trying to find out what sort of people we're dealing with here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
John's testing out his gizmos.
So it's an affinity. So I get to roll wits investigation plus shoot. Against their resolve plus composure.
Resolve. Okay, so I will roll that. Let me make a thing. No, I guess this guy can be, because he's not a mummy.
I've got 6 successes.
Okay, so what were those attributes again, John, that he's rolling?
Okay, he gets to roll his resolve plus composure to resist.
Okay, composure, resolve, doop, doop, and there we go. Okay, so you've won by 4.
Yeah.
So what does it? It tells you his.
I get to know his vice and his sort of like morality level. If he had a shadow rating, which obviously he won't, I'd also get to know that. But
yeah. Okay, so his morality, I think, is going to be 7. Okay. So you know him to be, in your sort of context, he would be a fairly sort of. I guess in your vocabulary, it would be like he would be a devout and loyal person. He's a fairly standard baseline human. He's not terrible by any means, and I think his vice is envy, and his virtue is going to be.
I don't get to find out his virtue.
Oh, just the vice.
Just the vice because it's shadow-like side.
Yeah, of course. Of course, it's only the negatives because that's kind of.
So I think as he's like I say, with the whole like acting directly, Khufu's a great believer in sort of like treating people like as they deserve to be treated, from like the highest king down to the lowliest servant. So as he's sort of like, oh, would you mind going and waiting? I can't sort of help you here. I'm just very sort of bluntly going to say, you are a good and a loyal servant, and I'm sure that your service will be rewarded. We will wait.
He looks at you with his mouth a little bit open, but he can figure out no words at all to say to that. And if you just sit around, we're gonna just jump forward when the duty manager comes in.
I was going to say to my brother, as I pull him away from the desk, it is possible that our audience here will have been anticipated by whoever this enemy is that we have encountered. We should let our guard down.
You are correct, my brother. However, if they are knowledgeable about our kind and they have already launched strikes against our kind, then surely they would be aware of the presence of Tesh'ra Gamut, whether we were here or not. But you are right, we should be wary.
So just to revisit the previous session, your cult had people who were of 2 vastly different opinions about Tesh'ra Gamut. Yeah, Tesh'ra Gamut seems to be a fairly common thing. Like your cultists knew all about Tesh'ra Gamut to the point where they're like celebrity gossiping about her. So your cultists were thinking that, oh, like we don't know if Teshra Gemet has been hit as well. So maybe we need to figure that out. And then some other cultists of yours were like, it's fucking Teshra Gemet moving in on the favelas. Like she wants to recruit toughs from here.
Yeah, so. I do remember that. I mean, I think
Yep.
As someone who was like a chronicler, I deal with like facts and things that are known. So because they didn't present us with any evidence of this, it was all just like hearsay. Mm-hmm. I think Khufu was just like disregarded that. He's like, it's in the back of my mind. So if we see any proof that matches that, that's a different matter. But until then, I'm just treating it as rumor.
Yep. So as far as you've seen so far, there's absolutely no disturbance of the peace here at all. Like everything seems to be running on normal, and there's no commotion at all.
If she's here, if the Arisen is here, I would be able to sense her, right, because of my god sight.
Yes, there's no resonance in the Sekhem. So at the moment, you do not sense the presence of another Arisen.
That's both good and bad. Like, so, I prefer to speak to the Red Sparrow myself.
The manager. So as you sit in the lobby, your assistant continues to be extremely uncomfortable at the front desk. However, in let's say 10 minutes, the duty manager walks in. So you see, let me get the note before we jump into that. Blop. Yeah. So you see a woman of Portuguese descent. She is her pigmentation is lighter than the man at the desk, and she goes and talks to him, and you can see them exchange some words, and then she approaches you and sort of over her shoulder just it tells him, that'll be all, Miguel. I'll take it from here. And she approaches you. She is wearing like a smart business suit of the 80s. So we know that there's going to be shoulder pads for real.
Yeah.
And yeah, she has all the bearings of someone who's in a managerial position. And she walks up to you. And
does she appear confident?
Yeah, she appears entirely confident and a little bit on the sort of. She's a little bit tense, but that is nothing special when you deal with mortals, because if they're tense, that's you doing a good job of hiding your Sekhem, because as we saw previously with Khufu, it wasn't the zombie that sent the cartel assassins running. It was the flare of Khufu's Sekhem as he invoked the zombie to rise up. They would have freaked the shit out about the zombie as well, but the unnatural glare of Khufu's Sekhem sent them away in a panic. Okay, so where are we? Get my notes in order. Here we go.
What's the name on a badge?
Her badge has the name of J de Saint Croix. I'll put that in chat.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I can see John typing it as
a
J de Saint. Ooh, Croix. I like that. Of course.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, let me revise that. So yeah, she basically dismisses Miguel, who is at the desk, and so he makes himself scarce and probably goes into like a break room. So she's dressed in an elegant gray suit, and she has an air of nervousness to her, but like she is very confident. She clearly is in the know. And as she approaches you at this so small like lobby chair group, she half bows to you, and with a slight smile in Portuguese, she says, "Holy ones, welcome. Please follow me, and I will do my best to assist you." And then she motions towards a set of stairs.
Your assistance is appreciated.
So if you follow her, she's going to lead you to elevators, and there's going to be a very long elevator ride. During which, as you enter this contraption, you enter a very small room with a panel on the side, and
I just kind of stare at it as I'm walking in, like.
she explains, "We shall be moved to the presence of the tomb shortly. It is a miracle of engineering, anticipating your fairly sort of somewhat uncertain reactions to what's going on."
I think I'll probably turn to Sobek and in our mother tongue, but like keeping half an eye on this Jada Sanqua, see if she it looks like she's understanding what I'm saying. I'm going to say in the tongue of ancient Irem. I will say to Sobek, I believe this is some conveyance like that used to lift the giant blocks of stone for the great tombs in the Nameless City.
They've managed some primitive feats.
She presses a button on the panel on the door and on the wall, and the doors close, and the thing starts moving up. And she looks at her shoe tips and says in somewhat hesitant Eremite, "Yes, Holy Ones, it is. The principle is very similar. I understand." She speaks it very well.
In which case, I will compliment her on her mastery of the ancient tongue and say, it is good that you can speak the tongue of ancient Irem, and you do it well.
She bows her head and says nothing else before speaking up in Portuguese again. So, Holy Ones, may I inquire as to the nature of your visit here at RS Global?
I look at Sobek.
He's considering his response.
I will point out that given that you know me very well, you'll probably know that like if I look at you and you take too long to respond, I'll just be like, we're here to do this.
Yeah. I don't take too long. I just kind of to consider. I don't respond straight away, as the words have meaning and names have power. You should be careful what you reveal. Me and my brother have been attacked by an enemy we do not know as of yet. Our belief is that it is someone that your master will know. It is our hope to gain information to defend ourselves and our old friends.
Indeed, my brother is correct. Also, one of our oldest associates is missing, presumably due to the actions of this enemy. We are attempting to locate him and seek the assistance of your master.
There is still much that is veiled to me, but I do recall that your master has influence here. Such is the power of her reach.
The Red Sparrow is both powerful and wise. The Holy Ones, unfortunately, the Red Sparrow has passed into Duat 2 years ago, and she has not yet returned to us.
That is disappointing.
Then
would you bid me summon her for this purpose?
If she is resting, brother, we should leave. We should not disturb her. If she has been in Duat for a span of 2 years, she will likely have no knowledge of current events. And even if she had knowledge of prior events, as we know from our recent awakening, she will doubtless not recall them for some time.
This is true, brother, but at the same token, she's wise enough to leave someone of competence in command while she rests. They may have the answers we seek.
Indeed, but were we to bid this faithful servant to awaken Teshwag Emmet, then she may not even remember us when she wakes. And given that time is somewhat pressing to us in this instance, do we have the time to wait for her memory to return?
Forgive me, brother. I think you misunderstand. I do not suggest we wake her. I suggest that we liaise with the person she's left in charge.
I see. My apologies. And I turn to the woman and say, where is your priest?
With respect, Holy One, you are addressing the priest of the Red Sparrow.
That is good. Then, my brother, you may surely address any questions to the priest here, and then we may leave.
Have we reached the office yet? Are we in there now?
Yeah, we can be in the
Okay.
penthouse layers. Yeah.
I'm going to be sort of pacing around it, kind of like taking in, what kind of, abode does the Red Sparrow create?
So it is a very luxurious, extravagant, even a corporate tower, a penthouse. Everything is of the highest quality. The floors, dark marble throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's lacquered black wood with golden and bronze highlights.
Obviously, it pales in comparison to my home, our ancient home, but
oh yes,
it suffices.
quite. Your home is quite traditional in that it is quite literally a tomb with a temple adjacent to it in the same complex. But this is an entire tower's like top dedicated to the residence of an Arisen.
Just a quick game question as well.
Mm-hmm.
If John's able to speak with the dead,
mm-hmm.
if the mummy is currently resting, does that mean he can communicate with a sleeping mummy? No.
No,
because we're neither alive nor dead. So
okay, because that would be
we're technically
sweet.
Not spirits. So well, we're actually not spirits. So
speed dial, yeah, nice.
But like she can be summoned clearly because the priest was literally like, "Do you want me to summon her?"
That would probably cause more trouble than it's.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I'm thinking. I'm not sure how much I want some like Sechem 10 Arisen with like no memory waking up, and then we're like, got some questions for you. I don't think that conversation is going to turn out well for us.
You could wait for a bit so that the second cools off and she returns to whatever her memory is.
We could, but we don't know what she's going to do in the meantime before that happens.
That's
because we know that from our experiences, if a cult awakens an Arisen and gives them a purpose, if they remember nothing else, they remember that purpose. If she's just summoned with like, oh, I'm just summoning you because some guys want to talk to you, I honestly don't know how she would respond, and I'm thinking it's probably not going to be great for us.
That would entirely depend on our past relationship with her, and we don't know what that was.
And neither will she.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So she might
just
be like two other Arisen in my place of power. It's time to break out that Sechem 10 can of whoop-ass.
Yeah, yeah. You came back at can of whoop-ass, which makes everything clear.
I'm choosing my words carefully, but I'm sort of like, if there's like a big desk, like I'll be.
There's all the accoutrement, all the like. There's what they call a study. So you have the big shelves of books. You have the extravagantly sized desk, all the good stuff. You haven't seen the tomb area itself yet, but obviously that's going to be the Sanctum Sanctorum. So, yeah.
Choose my words carefully. As I recall, the sparrow has nested here for some time, like ourselves.
Holy
there is
Ones, I am pleased to tell you that the Sparrow has been here from the very beginning of Rio de Janeiro as we know it today, the Portuguese settlement that grew into the glorious jewel that we have today.
well, then she would probably take a dim view of these, whatever they are, cultists.
I like to think I probably raise an eyebrow when she's like, glorious jewel. I'd sort of raise an eyebrow, but I won't say anything.
Savages have attacked my people and the people of our friends. What affects us also affects her.
But of course, the Sparrow is interested in the affairs of Rio as she is Rio after her own fashion.
Then I am sure that Teshra Gemet would be concerned to know that there are armed gangs roaming the streets, seemingly targeting the tombs of the resting Arisen.
Cutting the very flesh of her Rio.
You can see her at the desk. She takes a telephone and punches the 0 on it and just, like, nods at you, and just like very quickly you hear the line connect, and it's like, Miguel, call in the reserve guard just for the night. Don't ask questions, just do it. And puts it down.
A wise precaution, priest.
Holy Ones, I am not privy to the thoughts and secrets of Parda Vermelho. I am well, I see after the affairs as she rests in repose. I truly do not know what the source of this trouble you described is. But again, Holy Ones, if you do wish to ask the Sparrow for assistance or advice, I am able to perform the calling if that is your bidding.
Currently, we know that a cartel active in the Rio das Pedras favela has targeted both our cult and has seemingly violated the tomb of the Arisen known as Casmult, who we believe, when last he was awakened, consulted with Teshra Gemet. We are attempting to discover both the cause of this cartel's actions and, if possible, the fate of Casmult.
This snake is very long. It would take us a while to find its head.
The favelas are a hotbed of activity for different varieties of extrajudicial groups. If you take my meaning, I am not so familiar with these myself. For Cosmos, I do remember the name.
Indeed, we also know this cartel to have been active in a warehouse in the Rio das Pedros. We were there 14 of your years ago with Casmut. And we have learnt from what appears to be the sole surviving member of his cult that he apparently had some advanced warning of this attack. And departed. We do not know where to. But we know that when he was last awake, he consulted with your master.
For the specifics of whatever the Sparrow and your friend might have discussed. I truly and honestly do not know the details of that. The Sparrow would be the one you need to consult. And Sobek and Kufu as well.
Yeah.
I think you both do have some very fleeting flashbacks of some details like catch your eye, and you remember, oh, I've been here before, which doesn't seem that unlikely given the reception that you got, because you only had to name drop and they brought out someone who knows the whole deal, apparently. So mummies coming this way doesn't seem like all that odd. So it makes sense you might have been here before. And you do have flashbacks of, oh, I'm looking at this particular bookshelf, for example, and look,
Yeah.
I've seen this before.
This doesn't get updated that often.
And you also do have vague memories of having done some business with Teshra Gamet. What that might be? Brr.
Do I get any sense that this person's lying to me? I've asked relatively innocent questions. I haven't asked her directly if she's lying, but do I get a sense that there's something she's not wanting to discuss with me?
Well, as far as currently, not really. She's given you very sort of fitting answers to the questions that you guys have asked, and she just says, I don't know if Cosmut was here, and I think he was. Whatever they talked with the Sparrow, I don't know about that, because that's mommy business. So
that's mommy business.
Yeah.
Brother, do you believe that we should ask this loyal priest to awaken her master?
I do not know, Brother Truly. I say this openly with her there. I say, I do not know what our past relationship entails.
There is an easy way to find out. Priest, awaken your master.
She bows her head and says, Holy Ones, please situate yourselves here. Make yourselves comfortable. If you desire refreshments.
Yes.
Okay, so
I'll just say yes.
She was about to go away. She goes back to the telephone. It's the zero again. So, Miguel, have them send up a cart of refreshments now. And she puts it down again. 1 minute.
I like to think I sort of I have a quick look at Sobek and I'm like, only knowledge will refresh me.
It is rude not to take it, to enjoy the hospitality of the person who is hosting you, brother.
I can see the logic in what you say, brother. However, my purpose here is not a polite social call. It is business.
You must be patient, though.
I will be as patient as the dead, brother.
So you see someone from the catering come up the elevator with a cart with some tea, coffee, and there's some biscuits.
I'll probably pick up a single dry biscuit and I'll be like...
Mm-hmm.
Can we actually consume food? Does it actually work?
Yeah, it gets disintegrated by your biology. So yeah, you can imbibe it. It goes away.
I like to think Kufu's not really bothered about the food or the drink, but because Sobek said, oh, it's polite, just out of politeness, I'm going to eat one of the dry biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
We do not want her to think that we're suspicious of her motives, even though suspicion is perfectly warranted in this situation.
I am entirely unaware of her motives, therefore I can be neither suspicious nor open about them.
Well, it depends on your perspective, brother. If she is the blood of Rio, and someone is cutting her, then she will obviously aid us. But on the flip side, if we are the flies on her undead ass, if you would make me a joke, then she could be the one responsible for our sundering.
Either way, we'll find out shortly, it is my hope.
Well,
So Jay goes to what you took for a glass wall, and she puts a hand on it, and it becomes transparent, and she like slides it off, and the wall panels next to that as well on either side become transparent, and they're still tinted a little bit. You can tell it's glass still, but the color goes away, and she steps into a room behind them, and this, you think, probably the tomb itself now, which you can also see into as she goes there. So you can see, again, with the lacquered wood, everything's top-notch, dark marble details. The inside of this tomb chamber that you've just seen revealed, the walls slope inward, and it sort of puts you in a mind of, oh, this is kind of like a pyramid shape. And lighting there in the tomb chamber is provided with upward-facing spotlights embedded in the floor, so it's very like lit up from the inside of these pyramidal walls. And the only furniture inside there is a raised dais of dark marble. So on this dais, which is a slab of this marble, you can see a body entirely covered from head to toe in a golden silk cloth. So you see this like luxurious cloth obscuring the like withered corpse that lies underneath it.
I like to think I'm sort of making a mental note of this, and I'm thinking, we really should get ourselves a dais.
It's like, oh, I do like that. That's a nice touch.
It's a nice touch. I'm not sure I like the height though of this place.
It was when you were like, it's made of dark marble. I'm like, yes, I should have one of those.
Yes, please.
So Jay goes in there, touches a wall, which opens a hidden panel, and retrieves what looks like a very heavy golden amulet with a quite heavy ornate chain as well. It's not merely a chain, there's bits hanging off the chain as well.
Are we by any chance getting those relic vibes from
her? Yes. If you reach...
I can tell what this is about. Me, I've got eyes of justice.
Yeah, this is a relic which Jay is soon going to be using in the calling ritual. So she takes the heavy golden amulet from the hidden compartment and begins the obeisances, the rite of the calling, and she recites the call, which involves not that you can entirely tell because it's a little bit distant, but she recites sort of the titles and the glories of the Red Sparrow. Born of gold and glorious beyond the measure of the sun, all the like exorbitant glorification, and she like weaves into this calling the fact that there are other arisen who request an audience with you. And
as she's saying this, I'm going to be sort of remembering all of the titles she reads out, because when we address Teshra Gemet, I intend to repeat that in the hope that us sort of saying, oh, blah blah blah, exalted one, yada yada yada. We seek your wisdom, that she'll like be under the impression, oh, maybe I don't need to instantly destroy these interlopers with my Sekhem 10 like big dick powers.
Yeah. So as Jay completes the rite, the shape on the dais moves and sits up. The cloth slides away, and it reveals Teshra Gemet's form, which it's not that different from your own when you're at Sekhem 10.
I'm guessing my god sight's flaring up pretty big.
Oh yes, you get the full blast from the underworld, because Teshra Gemet is summoned and sent here in a blaze of Sekhem. And you see the brown skin stretched tight over his skeleton as it sits up and the golden cloth falls away. And the form stands up from the slab of dark marble and just stands there. Jay rises up, puts the amulet on Teshregemet's body, goes to several other compartments in the walls and retrieves one by one bracelets, several of them, brings them, puts them on the arms, rings, slides one onto each finger, and just dresses this withered corpse with the stretched skin over bones in a glorious panoply of jewelry and precious metals. And eventually, and this takes a bit of time, and this is entirely separate from the rite of the calling. This is something else. This is Teshregemet being like, bring me my riches.
To be fair, we're still sat here in like the ancient Egyptian war clothes that I pimped us out with earlier. So hopefully we at least look slightly appropriate.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm also, I should say that I am just readying myself. If it looks like it's going to go bad, like if it looks like she's about to squish us, I'm kind of, my utterance rebuke the visor is kind of on the tip of my tongue, ready to go. Because I can do it reflexively, which I believe means I can do it if something tries to attack me.
If there's a thing coming at you, you can put the second tier to work and be like.
Another fly's magic, apparently, which it doesn't. I don't know if it specifies second, but I believe it.
Everything. Everything. The premise of Rebuke the Vizier is the right of return, which is your entire existence, trumps all other magic. So it doesn't really matter what it is, unless it's from the gods, because that's one tier up from you guys. But everything mortal.
Out-tiered me.
Yeah. The withered corpse, now dressed in the finery that would make ancient kings blush, steps out of the tomb chamber into this corporate area, the corporate study, and with a dry voice, she croaks out in ancient Eremite, "Why have I been returned?" You know that the Jay actually spoke about this in the call, so you know that she knows something about why you're here.
Okay, at which point I'm going to step forward and then I'm going to say, Teshregemet, Born of Gold, all of the titles that were read out.
It's only the true name that matters, really.
We come here seeking your wisdom about our companion Khazmut and those who have dared to violate the tombs of our kind and attack our persons. O most knowledgeable one, Exalted of Rio.
She can't really smile because she doesn't have lips yet. So there is that.
We're all like that when we start, see?
Yep. So she tilts her head to the side a bit and sort of tastes the words like, Khazmut. You see Khazmut.
Yes, his tomb has been violated by these unknown assailants. His cult is all but destroyed, though we have saved what we can and preserved them. He apparently had some forewarning of the attack and has seemingly departed for parts unknown. We are aware that when he was last awoken, he consulted with yourself. We seek to determine his present state and also the identities of those who would dare to attack the Arisen.
You can see as you explain yourself and drop these sort of reference points, you can almost visibly see as like she latches on to each one of these when you're like Khazmut, like Casmund came to see you and all these, because she's not really on the up and up with the memory.
That's it. Yeah,
So-
that's why I'm trying to repeat myself and sort of like break it down and keep it as simple as possible. And I'm dropping in these names and references. I'm hoping might spark some sort of memory, because that's how
And
it
it
works
does.
with us.
Yeah, that's how it works with her as well. She like absorbs them, and she doesn't have eyes yet, so there's nothing going on in the face, but like she has that sort of like a little bit of a twitch whenever you drop something that she remembers. And Cosmot of the Tef Abi is known to me, and I can help you. But what can you do for me in return?
What is, again, just being direct, because that's how I am. I'm just going to say, what is the cost? We are humble compared to one as mighty as yourself. What would you have of us in return for your assistance?
I will have need of you in the next turn of the wheel. The plan is not yet set, and there are others with plans of their own. I would call upon you when the wheel next turns, and we might have prosperity by acting in concert.
Then, Exalted One, if you call upon us when the wheel next turns, and you remind us of the oath sworn this day, you will have our assistance.
She raises a hand up, and Jay comes around, goes to the big study desk, fetches a piece of parchment from there, and gets an old-looking inkwell, and starts writing down. So she's taking notes of what's going on here, presumably for Tashur to reference later.
That's all right. I'm remembering all of this. My plan is to likewise write it all down when we get back to the tomb.
Put it down. Yeah. Tashur inclines her head. Very good. And what are your names?
Again, I'm going to sort of like do a low bow or whatever sort of gesture of respect would be appropriate for someone of this station. And I will say, I am Khufu, chronicler of the departed, and member in good standing of the Sumenant.
She nods.
I am his brother. I pause before I say my name because I want to give out my name, but I must. Sobek Menaru. Vasisha
Hebsu.
Hebsu.
Yeah.
I was getting it wrong. Good standing also, as far as I am aware.
Good. And you can see Jay take all this down. You wish to know about Cosmos, and she's starting to get into her stride here, and it's probably because the Sekhem is bleeding off a bit as she takes a long time to say anything in old Iramite.
Yes, Exalted One, we wish to know about Cosmot, and also anything you can tell us about the identity of those people who have dared profane the tombs of the Arisen and strike against their worshippers.
I have returned from repose. I do not know who might desecrate a tomb at the current day. I shall no doubt hear more of this now that I have been awoken. But Cosmot, I have done business with Cosmot.
As have we.
As I now recall, with your names, you were connected to Cosmot, a merit, as I recall now. Cosmot came to me because he wanted to obtain the services of warriors. Presently, they would be called mercenaries, perhaps criminals, I presume. He wanted help, for he had no way of doing this on his own. He resides in a poorer district, the name of which escapes me now. He desired for a cadre of warriors, and
if I remember correctly, was Kazmut in the Rio das Pedras?
Yeah, that is correct.
In which case, when she says it, the name escapes me now. I'll just say Exalted One. I believe the place that Kazmut dwelled, if memory serves me correctly, is known as the Rio das Pedras.
He lived in this place, and he came from there to ask my assistance in obtaining these warriors that he desired, and I have the means to make it so. And thus we struck a bargain, he and I, as I have struck bargains with many others over the centuries.
As you have now struck a bargain with us, Exalted One.
Correct. He wanted this, and in turn, he promised me his territory, now called the Rio das Pedras, as you have informed me.
So the people who attacked him have in fact attacked you, if you now the owner of such a place.
In ancient Eremite, you hear her very sharply address Jay as she turns toward her. It's like, have we been attacked and you did not tell me? And Jay reels back and says, no, that is not the nature of it. There's no attack on the tower. Please.
I speak not of the tower, I speak of Kazmut's old tomb, which he relinquished to you, if I understand the bargain.
All that was Cosmos in territory is to be mine when he flees the city, which,
well Exalted
from the sounds of it, he has completed that now.
As we have said, Exalted One, Kazmut has departed, meaning, as my brother said, and as you have said, that what was once his is now yours, and we have visited the one-time resting place of Kazmut, and it has been stripped bare of its finery. The traps have all been disarmed, and his servants, which I would presume are now your servants, have been slain almost to a man.
She waves a hand and just says, I have no use for his cult. I presumed he would take that with him when he goes. Either way, this is all inconsequential. It is the area that matters, not the storm shelter that he calls a tomb, or whatever peasants might pay honor to him as cult. That is none of my concern. My concern is the area itself, which, if he has indeed fled, if the peasants have been killed, it sounds like he has completed the bargain in that he has fled the city. Now, that is something I also assisted him with, as he also asked, as a part of this bargain, for how to charter a cargo plane, which, if you are not familiar, is a conveyance that traverses the sky under the power of physics. If you do not recall, that is what it is.
I do not recall. But
it is a method of transport, advanced. He wanted one of these things to go away, and that was the conclusion of our deal. I provide him with the transport and the mercenaries, and I receive his area.
So do you know where he now resides?
How long ago was this when these things happened? Have you come straight to me? How long has passed?
When last we saw Casmut, it was 14 years ago.
I was just trying to work it out
in
there.
the modern reckoning of time.
When he first came to me, I presume you haven't waited 14 years after the attacks to come to me.
No, the
The
attacks
attacks
have
were
been
much more recent.
In which case, if it is very recent, he might still be in the city.
Perhaps. If you are not, Exalted One, if you are not concerned with the cult of Casmut,
No.
then as someone who is intimately tied in with the people and the land of this great place, you may be interested to know that the enemy that we seek have been polluting the blood and the people of this city using poisonous, addictive tinctures and such like that they were distributing from a warehouse in the Rio das Pedras. However, they seem to have abandoned it. We visited there shortly before coming here.
She switches to Portuguese and says, because there's no actual exact word for that in Aramite, she switches to Portuguese and says, "Do you speak of narcotics? What the mortals call narcotics these days?"
Likewise, I switch into Portuguese and say, "I believe that is the term."
That is, you mentioned this in connection with the Rio das Pedras, and that amuses me greatly, as the method by which I assisted Cosmot in obtaining the services of these mercenaries. I arranged for him to have a sizable quantity of narcotics with which to purchase these services of the mercenaries, which it seems as if he has done so. Those narcotics came from my deliveries to Cosmot as a part of our bargain, which he has put to good use, it seems, obtaining whatever warriors he wanted.
Then might I ask, Exalted One, if you can provide us with the details of these warriors that you were able to furnish Casmut with, so that we can determine whether or not they are the enemy that have been striking out against the tombs of the Arisen.
Oh, they would not be. No. They are a gang of fairly enterprising, and you can actually see, this is taking a bit, you can see the Sekhem bleed occurring in real time, where like her features start to fill out. Eventually you realize, oh, she has eyes now. And her Sahu is constructing on her.
As she's sort of like regenerating, for want of a better term, as like a memory of her form's returning. Because we saw the mercenaries that fled, I'm going to give her like a full description of the enemy as we've seen them so far, see if that jogs her memory or anything. I'll make it as detailed as I possibly can, knowing that any sort of odd like little detail might sort of spark her memory.
As I recall, this is a group of enterprising criminals. It is nothing more. They certainly do not have the capability to undo such works as we are capable of. The idea is amusing at most. That is not your enemy, and if it is, I recommend you wipe it off the map with haste.
As soon as we have located the enemy, it is my intent to do just such a thing.
I would not presume that you are threatened in any way by this.
Indeed not, Exalted One. The first foray we experienced with this enemy was decisive.
So as her Sechem settles, I'm going to show a picture. So let me just say, okay, that's all done there. Blop. So that should have popped up now.
Yep.
So she is a woman of Moroccan, sort of North African descent, heavily tanned, and you can see on her palms as they also regenerate that there's a lot of scar tissue on across them. It would seem to me that you might wish to talk to Cosmos if you've mentioned the narcotics that comes probably from my shipments, for I have my foot on this in Rio. That probably comes from my payment that I have given to Cosmos in exchange for his territory. Now, if these same mercenaries are causing trouble, I suggest you talk to their master, Cosmos. Now, another suggestion. This one's for free. If this is very recent, and I'm not privy to all the plans of Cosmos, you might have a chance with the cargo plane. There is a particular piece of land in the city where these things depart from. It might still be there, might not be. Either case, that is where my involvement with Cosmos ends. And for your reference and those others who might benefit from the knowledge, let it be known that Rio das Pedras is now my land.
Understood.
Very well then. By your leave, Exalted One, we will trouble you no further. I assume she's given us the location of where the car.
Oh yes, she's talking about a particular airport in let's see. There's a Jacarepaguá, which is a little bit further west from Rio das Pedras, which I'm pinging now.
Yep. So I'll say, in which case we will trouble you no further, Exalted One. Thank you for your advice. We will travel to Jacarepaguá and to see if we can consult with Cosmos and progress our investigations further.
Yeah, give him my regards if you do discover him.
We will. Thank you for your time.
I look forward to the turning of the wheel. And she inclines her head. Okay, so you're free to go, should you so desire.
Yeah, I think we'll depart. And did we still have a vehicle outside here? Sorry, I forget.
If you want, you can have the barely 18-year-old driver who's absolutely shit scared of you guys driving you around in a van.
He should be scared. Like my corpse thrall's still in the back.
No, always throw a hand up for a taxi. It won't take long.
Yeah, I'm going to actually assume, because I didn't mention it specifically, that I was bringing him with me. I'm going to assume I've sort of left the corpse thrall with the cult and just basically gone, stand there and don't kill anybody.
Mm-hmm. Which is good advice.
Yeah, I'll have basically said, don't kill anyone.
Advice.
If you're attacked, you can defend yourself. If any of the cults attacked, defend them. Definitely don't harm any of the cults, i.e. all the people who are here now, but otherwise just stand there until I return.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it going like full like zombie mode and starting to like kill people while I'm away.
Yeah. The thing is, if you don't give it instructions, the only instinct and purpose it has in existence is to kill the living.
Yeah, that's why I'm very careful whenever I leave it anyway. I'm basically, whenever I leave anyway, just assume I'm going to get, if that's okay, just assume I'm going to give it like the standing orders, like defend the cult, defend yourself, otherwise just stand there and don't do anything.
Yep. So you've stashed it away, and you've visited RS Global. You've woken up Red Sparrow, who, from the way she's presenting herself, seems to be sort of the woman about town.
The head sparrow, yeah, the chief.
Yeah, it's not the same one from Game of Thrones. There's a different vibe here, but yeah, the big bird, different vibe again from the actual.
Thankfully,
big bird.
she didn't start a big brawl when she got out.
No. She and that is that's the benefit of a good priest making a good calling, because you can put information into the call so that when you wake up, you kind of have an idea of what to expect, instead of someone like just fucking up the entire ritual and you just wake up not because of the ritual but because of how angry it made you that this guy is fucking up, and then you just tear him to pieces and just like
rip everything apart and then start I shouldn't have done that. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, no problem. So, all right. So you've left the gleaming tower of RS Global, the monument to, I guess, Treasure Gemmet. Ultimately, she seems to have things well in hand, from what you can tell.
Yeah, so I think we're probably going to go straight to this airport at Jacarapagua.
Yep.
And see, like, get the 18-year-old guy to like drive us over there. See if we can see if like Kazmut is actually there, and like try and find out from him. Like, look, what's the crack?
I will ask the Sparrow, but as we leave, like, if we need to contact her again? What's the most appropriate way to do so now she's awake?
Jay, and she comes over. So, Holy One, if you or perhaps someone working for you needs to contact us, you can do so by approaching us at this number or coming to the desk as you did today, and ask for the duty manager. She gives you a phone number, basically, like call this if you need.
What do you mean by this number, priest?
There is a technology that connects people over distance, Holy One, with the laws of physics.
I'll probably just look at a blank.
It's like,
these are words that I have heard.
Yeah, I know each one of these words.
Like, I know what physics are. I know what long-range communication means in principle. However, once you get into the technological side of things, not so much.
I think
will take
at that
your
point,
word for it, priest.
Yeah, as you're talking to Jay about this, Teshro Gemmet, like having gone out and like fetched like an ostentatious robe to put on herself, is tying it closed, and just happens by and says in Portuguese, they call it a telephone, Khufu, chronicler of the departed.
In which case, try obviously tell me if this isn't possible.
Yeah.
As she's coming, I assume she's just wearing like, she's got a bling on, obviously, but she's just wearing
Extreme
like fairly
amount.
simple robes. Is it possible for me to use my ability that I use to like garb ourselves to like garb her?
It would be, yeah.
Because if you don't specify, like fate determines like the outfit, but it's like, it's basically like immaculate and sort of like suits the wearer perfectly. So as she's like putting a simple robe on, I'll just sort of like hold out my hand and say, "With your permission, Exalted One." And I'll gesture at the robe.
She looks at your hand, looks at you, and so do explain yourself, Khufu.
Forgive me for saying so, but it is my belief that one as exalted as yourself should be garbed in attire that the fates have decreed is immaculately suited to your station.
I suppose let's have at it then. I do like presents.
In which case, yeah, I'm going to use the. I'm going to use my ability, dust beneath feet, to summon dust, earth, whatever there is. Even if it takes pot plants, I'll like.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're making the marble floor into clothes.
Yeah, and as per the gift, I'm going to let fate guide the pattern of its design. It just says gowns and robes provided by fate are often described as timeless, classical, and perfectly suited to the occasion. So I'm going to use my ability to like pull some of the stone, etc., together, and basically have fate to garb her in like perfectly fitting garments that are suited to her perfectly.
Yeah. So I think that will mean that she gets this eminently timeless corporate attire at this point in time. So, and I think it's probably somewhat futuristic in design, a little bit ahead of its time. Yeah, so she's dressed in the most incredibly tailored suit anyone's ever worn. And she looks for all the world like a CEO of a mega corporation. And she is still clad in her finery of golden bangles. Now those are hidden in the sleeves, the rings, heavy amulet, all that stuff. And the clothing seems to, of course, because fate would have it so, the clothing doesn't interfere with that or make it look cumbersome or dumb. It, in fact, uses the existing jewelry to accentuate the clothing.
I like to think maybe like the colour scheme of like the garment sort of subtly sort of like matches and complements like the jewelry she was already wearing.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be the palette is probably going to be in the sort of like beige. There's a lot of white. Maybe there's a bold, like a dash of warm yellow or orange there at some point. But yeah, you garbed her in this, and she inclines her head and amusedly says, I might have to trade for your tailoring services in the future, Khufu, Chronicler of the Departed, and perhaps you shall earn a different moniker.
Perhaps. Please accept this as a gift suitable to one of your station, and I hope a future sign to reinforce the oath that we have sworn to aid you on the next turn of the wheel.
Oh yes. There are several, but it is good to pay attention to the newest one. I bid you go with the blessing of the gods.
Indeed,
so,
may you walk in the light of the judges.
Presuming you depart, you're free to do as you will. Your driver can be there. You can just jump in, get to Jakarpagua.
I like to think maybe at this point, as sort of like Sobek sort of like make sure all of his gear's ready and whatever, so in the car and whatever, I'm probably going to say to the the 18-year-old, because even though I'm not really down with the personal niceties, like he's been driving us around for like probably a long time as mortals reckon it. So just before we set off, I'm going to say to him, probably maybe trying to set him a bit at ease, but probably not doing a very good job at it because like, I'm not good with those things. I'm just going to like flat out say to him, just be like, we need to go to an airport, and I'll give him the Jacarabagua and give him the address, and then I'll say, is there anything you need before we depart? Because he has been a faithful servant. He's served us well, so.
We might need to fill up on gas on the way there, but if we can do that, then
I look at him blankly.
But we can do without that as well. I mean, it's fine. There's still. I just thought that make sure in case we need to drive more.
If you need to have your fill of this gas, then please do so.
Yeah, it's for the car. The gas?
The travelling machine.
Yeah, it needs the thing to go. I just thought if we're going to be making a lot of transfers, moving around, I thought we might.
There is a strong possibility that will be the case. Please make whatever arrangements are required for this machine. If you require sustenance or anything of that like, please also make arrangements when we stop for this gas.
Yeah. See, he just nods and is glad that you've approved of this plan, and he sequesters himself in the driver's cabin. Okay, and then I guess we'll wait for a bit for Matthew to return from his rest.
I've got to say, I really enjoyed that conversation with Teshra Gemmet.
Yeah. She's going to be a major figure in there's a thing whereby like ego is big maybe in the immortal circles, but Teshra Gemmet is a fairly big deal in this setting, so we're going to be dealing with her because you guys basically said, oh, we owe you one for the next wheel turn.
I'm finding it quite interesting because presumably as we converse with more Arisen, when we're sort of like, we don't really remember exactly what's going on. I'm not sure how much you remember. So the conversations are as much trying to work out like what we know, what she knows, you know. If we know what she knows, and like vice versa. Yeah, and trying to like remind each other of things. So I found that really entertaining.
Yeah, and just imagine like you have the power of the gods at your disposal, but someone could just lie to you and you won't know. And then you might go off on a whole tangent about what someone said that was a lie, or they just remembered it wrong.
Yeah.
And you might just be completely obsessed with this idea because you don't know.
Because part of me was thinking when Teshra Gemmet was like, oh yeah, the warriors I like gave to Kazma wouldn't have been able to do any of that. I'm like, as far as you remember, they wouldn't be able to do any of that. I was like, it was like 2 years ago. There might be an entirely different organisation like now. Well, 14 years ago when she did it, like, there might be an entirely different organisation now.
Yep. I like the bit where it's like, Red Sparrow, can you believe they are polluting the neighborhood with the... Oh, you're selling drugs? Are you?
I love the fact she was like, yeah, chuck Kazma a load of like narcotics to like sort them out.
Yeah, she has got that. I do like the whole thing where she's like, Kazma just like, I need mercenaries, and she's like, well, I can't give you mercenaries, but I can give you drugs. And if you give drugs to criminals, you have mercenaries.
Yeah. I might not remember much, but there's one thing I know about criminals. They quite like drugs.
Yeah.
But, it's very, very interesting. Because, like you say, like with our own memories not being complete, and knowing that her memories probably aren't complete because she's just woken up, there's like a lot of stuff where it's sort of like in a bit of a grey area, where you could sort of say like, oh well, yeah, that's as far as she knows now. And like you say, we might have dealt with the Red Sparrow ourselves. We've got vague memories previously we've talked to her, but we don't know what about, what for. Obviously, we've agreed to help her out with when the next Sothic wheel turns. We don't know what help she's going to ask for. Obviously, we're going to take methods to try and ensure we remember that we made this bargain. But like, we might not remember the specifics when we wake up. We just know that like, yeah, we promised we'd help you because you did something for us. So I'm going to be quite interested to see how that sort of pays off in the next turn of the wheel.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm planning on when we get back, obviously I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to say to our cultists, like, next time we woke up, remind me of this.
This is the brief.
Yeah, basically. It's like, next time you awaken us for whatever reason, when you're summoning us, going, oh, this is the reason we've summoned you, Holy Ones, just slip in a mention. Oh, and also, you owe Teshra Gamut a favour.
Yeah. So, Matthew, for your edification, we're heading off to Jacarapagua Airport, and we're stopping for gas, which we have determined is the thing that the mechanical device needs to go.
How primitive.
So there's a point in your journey where your young driver puts in at the gas station and charges up the device that you use to travel around, and he goes into the gas station. He buys some sustenance for himself, so he comes back with a bunch of things like individually packed food items that he can drink and eat while he drives. So there's that whole deal. And then he actually, when he brings in the goods to the car, he comes around back, and he just quickly opens the door and slides in a plastic container, and just like sort of whispers in through the doors like, I don't know if you wanted to eat, but I got you some donuts, and then closes the door.
Just as he closes the door, I'm going to say, your tribute is strange, but it is accepted gratefully.
I shall try one of these. Oh,
so it's a plastic container with 2 donuts in it. One of them is the sort of frilly pink one, and the other one is coated in chocolate.
I'll take the pink one.
And I will have the dark chocolate covered one.
And as you take that, you just the waft of it, you're not overcome with Sekhem anymore, so it's not that strong, but it's still like, it's not supernaturally strong, but the waft of the chocolate actually reminds you a bit, like you get a little bit of a flashback from, like, you think hundreds of years ago. It's like, that brings me some memories I don't quite remember. You remember a scene in the jungle. There was a great deal of violence. You think maybe, not quite sure though what that was about. But the smell of chocolate triggers this.
I'll turn to Sobek and I'll say, as he's caught a waft of it as well. And I'll say, didn't this used to be a drink?
Perhaps.
Yeah. So
I just put the whole thing in. I don't know how you're supposed to eat it.
Yeah.
I'll probably take just one bite and then I'll put the donut down so like Sobek cannot scoff the rest if he wants.
So yeah, he brought you some donuts, and the trip continues. So he's scarfing like some like gas station fast food in the front seat while he drives. And let's see the route here. So you're all the way in downtown on the map right here, which is all like skyscrapers, banks, financial consortium buildings. The affluent part and the affluent heart of Rio is this area here. This is the commercial center, rather. You drive to the south, you pass by Copacabana, Ipanema, Leblon, where all the rich people live, and you get the sort of mansions and the luxurious apartments that you see glowing in the night as you travel. And then you drive through Rosinha. I don't know. I don't speak Portuguese, so don't really have the pronunciation down, but Rosina is a big favela, and that is a very stark contrast coming from Leblon, which in modern day I'm led to believe, or at least like a couple of years ago, was some of the most expensive land in South America. Period. It's a very stark contrast coming from Leblon to Rosina, which is a miserable experience in comparison, because it is a favela. The street, there's only the big street that you drive through. Then everything else is cramped alleyways, buildings made from substandard materials in a lot of cases, and just entirely too many people living in the area for it to be comfortable to them. But they make their living there, and you know about favelas because you live next to one. It's not a new thing for you at all. But you go there through Rosina. You drive down across the coast. Baja de Tijuca is another affluent area, and then you go north from there, and you arrive in Chacarapagua eventually, to the airport, where you think, oh well, Cosmo has apparently wanted an airplane, and Tesh Regemet has instructed him in how to do that. And if he's still around, that's where he could be, because that's where Teshra told him to, like, this is how you get a plane chartered. So we arrive at Chacarapagua. Okay, so there's a cargo outstrip that you end up smash cut in to a cargo airstrip at the outskirts of this airport in Chacarapagua. And there is a plane, and you sense Sekhem. There is the unmistakable presence of another mummy here, and you see the plane. It looks like you've undoubtedly seen them before in your previous lifetime, so now you have the context for it, so you understand what it does, what it is. So there's a cargo plane, and you see Cosmot. He's sort of pacing back and forth, and there are a number of crates, some of them loaded into the cargo plane, which has the ramp down, and some of them are still like next to it. And Cosmot, let me bring up the picture. Blop. You can see him pacing, and he's tossing a coin, as he has done countless times before. And he seems quite on edge, and he seems to be waiting for something.
Well, I think since we remember that we know him previously, and we're here to find out what's going on with him, I'm just going to like get out of the car and like walk straight up to him.
Can I get a read of like what his second level is, like how long he's been awake, type thing?
Do you have a thing for that?
My God Sight kind of is just something along those lines. It's might need to spend willpower. When a mummy's second rises in response to another risen within sensory range, her player also learns a second rating of the detected mummy. The character experiences this information more abstractly.
Abstractly, okay. So your
measuring the
second
strength and
is
weaknesses.
your second is 7. Is that correct? Or 8, rather.
8, yeah.
Yeah.
For now.
So his second is less than yours, but it is still quite potent indeed.
I'll be like, caution, brother. He probably remembers us, but he may not have been awake that long either.
Well, the most direct way of finding out what is occurring with him is to ask, and I'm just gonna just carry on, walk straight up to him.
So he's pacing back and forth in front of his plane, and there's the hangar in the background. He's glancing at his watch as you walk up, and as he senses you as well. He just utters a single word, stops with the coin tossing, and just says, "Ah."
Kazmut, your tomb has been defiled. Your cult is scattered. We too have been attacked by the same enemy. What do you know of them? I'm to be honest, I'm thinking like, if we were all close, he'll know that like being just direct and to the point is my like way. So
Yeah. Presumably you were and still are a merit, so yeah, he should be very familiar with the way you work. I am somewhat surprised to see you here, dear Khufu Sobek.
we have been awakened because our cult was attacked.
This wasn't my design, and you have my apologies. You should not have been awoken.
Then you know the identity of those who dared to strike our cults.
Yes, criminals, which I have enlisted to my employ.
Then if they are working under your guidance, perhaps you can explain why they have struck out against our worshippers.
He nods and he glances at the plane and he says, "There's so much we don't know about our world."
The world is not my concern. The attack on our worshippers is. For that is the reason that we have been awakened. And due to this, we have in turn had to awaken Teshra Gemet in order to locate you.
I was wondering how you ended up here. I should have known it might come to this, but I guess I was hoping it wasn't. And again, my sincere apologies. You should not. It wasn't my design that you would ever be woken.
Then given that these criminals were working for you, whose design was it? We routed one of the attacks shortly after our awakening. And if these attacks are to continue, then we will surely destroy this enemy. But we pause briefly.
Blood of our members is on your hands, Kazmut. We need answers, and quickly.
The design was that you would not have woken up, as there would not have been a cult or a relic to do so. No hand to use the relic in the call. Now,
then your design was to destroy us.
Well, there's no destroying us, is there? Merely the design wasn't to destroy you, and I regret this, my brothers, but my need is greater than yours. The design was to obtain the relics. A gift to you then would have been to spare you of all this with the disposal of your cults, so that you may have slumbered until the wheel turns and be unmarred by my actions in this time.
You talk much of your design to spare us the ramifications of your actions, yet you speak little of your actual goal. What is your aim with these actions that you have performed?
I wanted your relics, brothers, for they contain the Sekhem that I need to stave off the descent. And both of you know that this is the one thing that is universally known to be not great with the judges.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm already thinking like,
You're not supposed to drain the relics to sustain your own Sekhem. You're supposed to get the relics, die, and bring the relics with you to the underworld. So, it appears the knife men at my employ have only partially succeeded. Sobek, you have again my regrets. They have succeeded in obtaining your relic, but apparently they have. I was interested in why they did not bring the Firewalker's trumpet, but Khufu, it does appear that they have been foiled by your rising, and I presume that the trumpet will not be coming.
those who seek to plunder what is rightfully mine have either fled or have died. As is appropriate. No less.
Yes, quite.
Your actions will speak ill of you, Khasmut, in the eyes of the judges.
Have the judges not abandoned us, Khufu, chronicler of the departed? Think back, if you will, if your memory is still strong enough, if it hasn't been eroded by your time in repose, my brothers. Do you remember in the favela warehouse 14 years ago with the Amkat and the relic that we were saving?
We remember.
I remember.
Is this to be our lot? Is this what we get from millennia of service and loyalty and honoring the judges and the gods, the memory of lost Irem? We scrabble with unholy spirits, drug addicts, criminals. We scrabble with these cretins in the dust of this world for scraps.
It is not our right to question those who have bestowed immortality on us, and do not speak to me of scrabbling with criminals in the dust when you have wielded them like a blunt, ineffectual weapon against your brothers.
And why shouldn't I? This is the world that we get. This is the reward we have been given for all that we have done. And it comes down to this, Khufu, my brother. We save one of these things. One relic, one statue we save. 8 others despoiled by foolish mortals playing at the scraps of sorcery that they can understand. Despoiled by unclean spirits, despoiled by the Shuangsen. And we are left carrying away one thing from the dirt, casting down the dregs of this world, just to bring this one thing back to the judges who give us this duty as our service and our reward for the continued loyalty. Should we not, Khufu, Sobek, my brothers, make our own way in the world?
Then you believe that these despoiling mortals are infantile and selfish, concerned only with their own ends.
They do not know what the ends are. They have never been taught. We were, and we lived. I remember parts of it. We lived in the glory, I think. And we are left. You have seen my tomb, brothers. You were there many times. I have given you hospitality with my servants in my tomb, which is, I think the mortals call it a storm drain. You live under the rotting corpses of beggars and drug addicts next to what is a miserable piece of land, looked on unfavorably by your other neighbors, the ones who have all the good things in the world. And we are supposed to settle for this?
Casmet, brother, mortals are as children to us. They are infantile, selfish, flawed, for that is their nature. One may as well complain that a dog has ill manners or is not capable of greater things, and yet they are. If they are the children and we are above them as adults, it is our responsibility to teach them the error of their ways, not to complain about them following their own nature, or to become frustrated and like them, wrapped up in our own selfish ends and needs. We are outside that, and we should be above it.
Our reward is to serve the truth, the gods that we know.
Have you not done so for many turns of the wheel now?
Indeed, and we will do so for many more.
I say no. I say the judges have left us here, abandoned us to this dust and misery. I say we make our own way, my brothers, and I have learned how to do that.
If you
I see that you have discovered folly since your awakening.
Indeed. If you wish evidence that the judges have not abandoned us, then you need only look to your continued existence as evidence of that. For it is by their grace, and their grace alone, that we return renewed each turn of the wheel.
There are many who neglect their pets, their domestic animals, their servants. In any case, I have not done this to discuss with you. It was not my... It was never my hope that I would be able to convince you, especially the two of you with your temple and your statues, of any of this. It was my intention to let you sleep until the end of the turn, until the start of the next turn, and it would be as if I was never there, and I would pass from memory, and you would be left to your devices, whatever they might be, and I would attend to my own.
Your envy of our temple does not become you, brother.
Oh, I think it's a disgrace now. You worship at the altar of someone who doesn't care for you. And you can see him being flensed in real time as he bleeds out some of his second.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping I can just keep talking. Yeah, you just keep bad-mouthing the judges, mate. You just stand there talking to us and bad-mouth them as your second bleeds away. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah, so he is looking a little bit uncomfortable there. And this is an opportunity for you guys. If you have memories of having blasphemed yourself, this might bring something back.
Would that be some sort of memory roll? Or?
I think it's in this instance, like, just you can just figure that out. Like, if you figure that you would have memories of having had an episode where you basically spout heresy, like towards the judges or like the memory of Virem or whatever, then you might recognize, oh, that's him getting the whip from the underworld.
I don't think I would have, because as like a
I don't think I
dedicated
would have.
servant, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I love the judges.
Well, think as I am all about, bringing transgressors against the divine to justice.
Mm-hmm.
If I did blaspheme, I would have buried that deep. Deep.
Presumably, if like the mayor sort of blaspheming against the judges, and then he starts looking uncomfortable, it's not going to take a genius to work out that, like, yeah, that this isn't doing good for him. So I'm just going to keep trying to push that, because I'm like, if we have to confront him, I would like him to have as little Sekhem as possible. So I'm going to continue the conversation. I'll say to him, the judges are gods. It is not for those who have been blessed by them to question their motives, as it would not be for humans who are below us to question ours. Who are we to question those who have blessed us so? We are servants of the judges.
And I say that I am no longer.
Then you sever your ties to the judges, and you do not hold with their plans and edicts.
He casually strides up to one of the crates still outside the plane, and he lifts out some kind of rock, and he says, I will make as good an attempt as I can, my brothers. And you can see the rock like crumble in his fist, and there's a little sparkle of golden shimmer around the rock as it crumbles, and you can very faintly smell the aniseed flavor scent of Sekhem. So he destroys a relic and drains it of Sekhem, and it turns to you in the aftermath and says, I have found a path that leads away from this abject misery. And I do not, and as I have never planned to ask you to walk it with me, I intend to go, my brothers. I have given away my territory, such as it is, the misery there. That all belongs to the Red Sparrow now. May she do with it as the judges will. I have done my contrition. My cult is also destroyed by mine own hand. My relics, I have consumed this, a thing liberated from elsewhere. Your cult still in existence. So that is a saving grace, I suppose, of a kind, though not the kind that I intended for you. But I am not here to bandy words, and I presume that you have done away, as you claim, with some of these that I have enlisted to my cause.
I have shown restraint and only killed one of them.
All that being said, and you have my sincere apologies, this was not what was meant to happen to you at all. But I will not be swayed, and I would go, my brothers, and leave Rio and you to your own devices. You can contend with the Red Sparrow, you can contend with O Corte Segredo, which is Portuguese for the secret court. So that's the thing.
Just out of interest, the relic we retrieved from the warehouse 14 years ago when we battled the Amcat. Do I have any memory of what happened to it after?
You think you'd returned it to the underworld.
Okay.
Yeah, that was sort of the implied thing at the end of your reminiscence of it. Like, you made it out, you protected it, everyone was feeling good. Cosmo was feeling contemplative, but you're like, the feeling you're left with was, okay, we did the thing, we saved the relic, and we took it away so that the uncut can't eat it.
In which case, I will say, then you now intend to leave aboard this travelling machine.
Indeed.
Do we have your word that there will be no further attacks on our cult?
Not by my instruction. I cannot guarantee. Some of these fairly aggressive individuals might cook up plans of their own, but I have no ill will towards you, my brothers, and the only violence I meant was towards your cults, never at you. And if you have disarmed these servants of mine, there's nothing else that I have planned.
Then there only remains the matter of my brother's relic. If you return it and there are no further attacks on our cult, you may go.
They were supposed to have been delivered to me as a pair. I know that they have retreated, but it did not arrive. As you can see, the rest of my servants did not arrive yet, as you have disposed of them. Currently, I do not know where that is. Cannot give it to you, for it is not mine to give.
Only one of your servants is disposed of, the rest fled.
In any case, they will have it. Where? I do not know yet. It did not make its way here.
Presumably it will at some point.
Given what I remember of you, Khufu, I do not know if it will. My new employees might have changed their allegiances in the aftermath of your meeting. I have a feeling that they might be somewhat discouraged from doing business with me now that I have sent them to your waiting arms.
In which case you have nothing to lose by telling us where they are.
Well, they were stationed. Truly, this is a part of a larger brotherhood of these thugs. This part that I bought with drugs, they had a house of their own in the warehouse that we saved the relic from. They might return there, they might not. They have good hiding places in the various favelas around Rio.
Very well, and when do you intend to depart?
I do not believe anyone is going to come for me now, and there are no more relics. So I will depart now.
What is it you intend to do with your time?
I intend to be free. I intend to make a life for myself, away from this.
How will you survive without the judge's guidance?
I have found a way. I have heard of a better way for our kind.
I would weep for your decision, but your blasphemy turns the tears to ash on my cheek.
And Khufu, I hope that one day I can come back and in turn set you on the path to something other than dust and misery.
No one can say for certain what the future holds, but if there is to be such a day in the future, it is not now. I suggest you depart, and in memory of the kinship we once shared, I would advise you not to return.
My brother takes the words from my very mouth. That was what I was about to say.
Yep. He bows his head and says, "This is not the farewell that I intended, for I had intended none at all. But such as it is, I hope the service is kind to you, Khufu and Sobek.
It saddens me that the lesson you took from that encounter was rather than to protect the relics of our homeland, you become a parasite yourself. If I meet you again, I may be forced to destroy you.
We'll see when that happens.
And there'll be no protection.
But such things are matters for the future. In
Or
the
the
here
past.
and now, I suggest you depart immediately.
Yep. He picks up one of the crates, carries it to the plane, and seems to be speaking to like an intercom in the cargo area. And he stands there at the mouth of the ramp. The ramp starts coming up, and the plane starts. The engines go on.
Okay,
And,
now just a bit of an out of character aside, like
Yeah.
Matthew, I've got a bit of an idea here. It's a little bit on the OTT/mad side, but
You know how to reel me in, John.
see, I happen to know that my ability Dust Beneath Feet basically allows me that, like, if I fall from any distance onto Earth, as long as I then just spend a turn regenerating after I've landed, I can just get up and be like, oh well, don't matter how far I've fallen. I can also, as you have witnessed previously, brother, summon the shade of a dead person and bind them to an object. So what I'm thinking about doing is, as the plane takes off, Mission Impossible style, I'm thinking of basically grabbing onto the tail or whatever of the plane as it lifts off, holding on for as long as possible while the plane's in flight, basically summoning an ancient spirit which will instantly appear in the plane with like motivation, kill, hostility. Then I'm just going to let go of the plane, fall to earth, hit the ground and be like, I'll be fine in a few minutes. Then get up, brush myself off and walk away.
Is the aim to kill Casmo?
Well, even if the plane crashed, exploded and his body was completely burned, it would not kill him. However, it would send him into Duat, and he would come back in the next cycle. My plan is that he's obviously blasphemed against the judges. What's the quickest way to get him to the judges?
Destroy him.
And also, I'm thinking, to be honest, his plan as he's just laid out to us was like, oh yeah, sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to like wipe out your entire cult and like steal all your relics and then like fuck off before you woke up. No hard feelings, eh, guys? And I'm like, yes, there are a lot of hard feelings. Like
Feelings is what I got.
You might have been happy with like wiping out your own cult like there were nothing because you're too busy like, oh, it's so unfair. The judges won't give me anything. But like, I am not down with that behaviour because like our cult, do what you want with your cult, but our cult is our cult. Don't be like, oh yeah, sorry I had to wipe out all those people who worship you guys, but you know, like, still friends, right?
Our cult is an extension of ourselves.
Exactly, yeah. Striking against our cult is striking against us. So I'm like, even if the plane doesn't crash and it just causes him some inconvenience, hopefully it'll at least it'll have conveyed our displeasure at his recent actions.
Yeah.
Also, I said that like we'd stay our hand momentarily until he departed. Once he's in the plane and he's head off, he has then departed.
Yeah. Well, I said I wasn't going to hurt him. If I see him again, I'd kill him. So I will not lay a hand on him at this stage, but I will not stop you. That's for sure.
Well, I'm not going to lay a hand on him. I'm just going to unleash some like ancient spectre with like a murder, death, kill motivation inside the plane. But like I say, that there's no way that like even an ancient spectre is going to like permanently destroy him. The worst is his body will be destroyed. He'll go back to Duat and it'll reform eventually. Yeah. Assuming he's not like consumed all the relics and like canoptic jars and whatever that can bring him back. And if he has done, well, that's his fault. Because he's like, oh, I don't need the judges. Oh, it's so unfair. And I'm like, well, let's send you back to Duat and then like see like how unfair you think it is. Like when you have to bend over and tap one from the judges.
Yeah, talk to the HR.
Back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm so. Oh, you want to like mess with the judges? Well, let's send them to you and see what they feel about it.
This is all bad, dude. This is all bad.
Because I'm like, if we let it, much as I'm tempted to just go like, right, you're leaving, you're not messing with us anymore. That's fine. Essentially, what he's just said to us is like, I've found another way to like not work with the judges. And from his recent actions, I expect that way he's just like stealing relics and absorbing them. And it's like, he's probably gonna like tax them off some other Arisen, and like we're just making him someone else's problem, and like that's not a thing we should be doing. But we shouldn't destroy him because he is an Arisen. But he needs to like, learn his lesson that like this sort of behaviour is not appropriate.
He needs to take his medicine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm going to deliver it. So yeah, that's my plan.
Yeah, so
it's a rubbish plan, I know, but I'm going with it.
No, I mean,
no, a rubbish plan. It's got merit, John.
Yeah, merit points. So there's no active resistance on any of this. So whatever pillars you need spend, you can just do that for the invocation of the utterance of the ghost summoning, like words of dead fury, is it?
Yeah. So I think so. Let me just have a look. Yes, it is words of dead fury. So I'm going to the age of the creature I'm going to summon is ancient spectre, rough temperament, hostile, potential danger to Arisen, life threatening.
And which tier is it?
It is tier. Let me just have a look. I think it's tier 1.
I think it's tier 1 as well.
Yeah, it is tier 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever the pillar for that tier is,
I've spent it.
Spend one of that, and then what does it say for how you recover from the fall?
Okay, so dust beneath my feet. Let me just find the bit. Whenever they suffer falling damage from landing on an earthen surface, she can spend the next turn doing nothing but regenerating. Heals all damage from the fall, plus all lethal and bashing damage suffered on the turn spent. On the turn spent, something or other.
Yeah. So what it sounds like is you just need to activate the first level of that. So whatever pillar that is.
Yeah, so I'm spending 1 shadow and 1 bar to activate both of those.
So you activate both of those things, and you do the thing. So
so I'm going to be like clinging onto like the tail of the plane or whatever, slap my hand on it, and be like, ancient spirits of evil. Summon up some ancient spectre, which automatically appears like materialized, like in the nearest like available appropriate space, so obviously inside the plane because there's nothing else about. It's automatically manifested for that scene, and as soon as I presumably like hear vague sounds of like distress from inside, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, and you probably won't because you're outside and there's a lot of wind now in your ears, but you know that it worked because it never doesn't.
That's fine. I just like, peace out.
Yeah, this is like base jump, and
I'm just literally gonna be like into the ground.
Yeah, there's the like of Khufu coming down, and then the next turn, like a marionette, whoop, he's up again, and it's unsteady going with the plane.
Yeah, I'll say that. Then I'm just gonna stand there with a bit of a sort of smile on my face and just like watch the plane as it like.
Does it crash or does it make it?
It doesn't crash while it's in your field of view, but it's very erratic in the sky.
I bet it is. Because I'm, to be honest, I'm thinking like this ancient spectre doesn't really have to like actually kill Kazmut or anything. Because like if it kills the pilot, I'm going to hazard a guess that Kazmut probably doesn't know how to fly a plane, even if he knows what one is.
Yep, very very.
So I'm like, if it takes out the pilot, that's not going to bode well for him.
Nope. So that happens, and we don't actually see what happens to the plane, but it's probably nothing good. But Kazmut is not without his tricks, and he still has enough Sekhem to call on all his magic. So he's going to be able to contain things for a little bit, but yeah, it's not going to go well for him. Okay. So, and like destroying Kazmut is probably out of the, truly destroying him is out of the question, really, for him. Like, it might send him into a death cycle, which,
that was the absolute maximum I was hoping for.
Yeah. But good. So you kind of have, I guess, what you came for. At least Cosmut seemed convinced that these guys are not going to do anything anymore because he paid them, they did the thing, and they got freaked the shit out while they were doing it. So,
I think
they
now
don't.
we've got some rough idea where they are. We go and retrieve the relic and destroy them.
Yeah. And I suppose at this point, and apologies, we didn't talk about this before, but there is an ability that all Arisen have that you call the Kepher, which is the path of the sun beetle. And this is something you can do to track down relics. So, Sobek, literally all you have to do is focus on your Sekhem and send it out along the line of your own relic, and it will lead you to it.
Well, obviously, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna GPS that. I'm gonna figure out where it is, and feel sorry for whoever currently possesses it.
Yeah, so I guess in the sort of montage of this is you're like, all right, well, that is all dealt with. Now where's my relic? And you follow the Kepher and you figure out where it is, and we get the montage of you guys. Would you storm a cartel warehouse with people inside?
It's Sobek's relic, so I'll be waiting for him
Yeah.
to suggest a plan because obviously it's his relic.
Yeah. So you would be led to like a hideout warehouse in like a fairly distant part of Rio, but you know exactly where it is.
What I would do is I'd first make a courtesy call to the Red Sparrow and just be like, I'm at this place, they have my relic. Are these your guys before I mess them up?
Oh, you were muted, John.
Before you ruin them.
Yeah.
Yeah. As mentioned previously, Teshra Gemet called them. She was like, I don't care really. Like, these are mercenaries, is what she called them. So you make sure with her, like, are these your people? And she replies, no.
Okay, then I will I will go in there and I will retrieve my heirloom, my relic. I will go in there and get it. It will not be pretty.
No, okay. So I guess
I should point out, Sobek, before we storm straight in, that I'm not actually that good in combat.
No, but you can summon things that are.
I can, however, after a certain point, it's going to start becoming difficult for me.
How about we get your little zombie friend to come and give us a hand? We bring it here. Unless you don't want to utilize it in this fashion. I'm guessing my charmed lives affinity doesn't stop me from getting shot.
No, it's not that lucky.
Is that pretty good?
To be fair, if we storm in there and like you just like kill someone after we storm in, I can just be like,
yeah, I can do that, no problem.
Okay, so the montage is you go in, I guess, with your gun. Are you using the gun?
Yeah.
So you go in with the gun, you shoot the first guy, Khufu gets them back up, and from there on it's a kind of a horror show inside there. And you dispatch these cartel people. Fairly insignificant fight. They were already kind of messed up from previous actions. And you are left with what is your relic, Sobek? Is it... I'll give you a couple of choices here to make it go. So, is it an old manuscript, like a medieval sort of hand-bound manuscript? is it an old Roman lead curse scroll, which, if you're not familiar, these are the things which made from lead, like a thin lead sheet. You would sort of write your curse on it. You would
Yep.
wrap that shit up, and you would stick it inside someone's house wall so that it would curse them. Um, or
Brilliant.
or is it a stone tablet with writing on it?
I'm gonna go with option 2.
Okay, the Roman curse, lead curse
Yeah.
scroll. Okay, so you lift this piece of like absolutely battered lead from
It's
like some
precious to
stash.
me.
Yeah, this, and to us, it looks like a goddamn piece of trash because it's literally lead like folded over and kind of stabbed a bit.
Is it still giving off a second vibe that hasn't
Oh
been
yeah,
like
yeah.
drained?
It is infused with Sekhem. It is a holy relic, and yeah, it is your centerpiece relic for your tomb. So you have this like small. It's if you took like an A4 paper and you folded it over, it's like a strip of lead.
Yeah.
And you have it now, and yeah, that's where we cut the montage, I guess, for 1985.
Oh, just to let you know, by the way, Johannes,
Yep.
I'll be taking my my second unliving sentinel, and my plan is when we go like this is dealt with, back to the tomb for some rest. I'm basically going to set each of them to, because they don't decay while they're in the tomb.
Yeah.
I'm going to set each of them one to stand guard by each of our like resting places.
Yeah.
And they're going to be told that like if any, basically I'll come up with some sort of like passphrase of like an ancient Egyptian word or an ancient Aramite word, and I'm basically going to say like if anyone like just stand here, don't attack anyone. If anyone touches our tombs or like enters like the inner sanctum and doesn't give you this passphrase, destroy them and then return to like your vigil and just stand there. And I'm going to make sure like the priests of the cult understand that like when you enter like the inner sanctum, you need to say this passphrase, and anyone who's coming in that you want to not get destroyed utterly, you need to make sure they say this passphrase.
Now, here's a question. Do you arm these guardians with anything? They can do very well with just their hands because they draw power from where they are, and currently they are in a graveyard, and that means they have 7 strength, so they can punch through a car almost. So
I think if we've got suitable garments and or weapons in our tomb, I'm basically going to like deck them out in so much as I can, so they're like a rough approximation of like Aramite like tomb guard.
okay, yeah. And you can make clothing, right? You can
Yeah.
So, okay, so you get them like some maces and swords, and you get the garb on them.
What I might do is I might have them with like a mask on. Like I'll have one with like a jackal on, the one that stood near me, and then I'll have one with like the animal that's associated with Sobek, like stood near his tomb.
Yep, the serpent that is his
so,
decree.
So you know, in that sort of like Stargate style where they have like the helmets,
Yep.
I have like one with a snake and one with a jackal.
Yep.
Because
Now
I'm
we
guessing
just
they
need-
don't actually need to like look through their eyes because they're like
Oh no,
Dead.
They're dead.
yeah.
Yeah. Where they went, they need no eyes.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking as well, like we've already had like we've had to like flee from our tomb once. I'd like to prevent that from occurring again.
Yeah. So you've successfully question mark dealt with whatever Cosmod was doing in 1985, and we're good to go for our sort of quote unquote modern day, which is for us going to be the start of the Sothic turn, the 4th Sothic turn indeed, in 2016.
Then we return to the sleep of Duat.
Yeah. So you eventually, because your first purpose is now filled, and you have some time to yourselves now after all this business. So you have done something presumably in 1985, but we're not going to focus on that now, and we're going to next time jump into 2016, and we're going to deal with the fourth rather Sothic turn, which means that when you awaken, you will have no primary purpose. You will still have your secondary purpose, which is get all the relics, but that's
do the judge's bidding.
Yeah, and then the third one is indeed do what the judges want.
Yep.
And
also, can I recover any pillars for decisive action? You know, like jumping onto a plane and storming into a cartel base.
Yeah, that Mission Impossible stuff that we do.
That's right.
My powers are more defensive, so I haven't needed to use them just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like the big Mahonies.
Yeah, I given that I am literally what they call fate in the game.
Yeah.
Fate has foreseen that if you were to throw down with Cosmo, you would have been on your utterances on the quick, because Cosmo, if you actually wanted to like get into a tussle with him, he could have brought the oomph, and you would have probably then have the opportunity to use your stuff. But you solved the matter like gentlemen who throw ancient specters at each other. So
it's more like when you're immortal, just fighting each other seems so boring.
That's quite the thing. Like, I think if this were some other game and the characters were something else, it would have been different. Because now it's just like how do we? And that's part of the interesting part with Cosmo as well. Like, how do you do this? Like, how do you teach him if you think he's wrong? How do you punish him if you think he needs punished?
Well, that's because, it. Like you say, if it had been another World of Darkness game, I'd have just like thrown down and tried to like take him out. But with this, it's like even if we like actually like physically killed him and like destroyed his body, it's not going to destroy him. Mm-hmm. And it's like say like things like summoning an ancient spectre that's going to try and like kill you, and it's like immeasurably powerful, like by mortal comparisons. Mm-hmm. It's like in any other game, you'd be like, that's fucking serious. That's going to like end somebody. Whereas in this, I'm like, worst it's going to do is like inconvenience him and cause him to like maybe like have a dirt nap for a few years and then come back.
And then we'd have some real beef.
To be fair, as far as I'm concerned, we have got real beef because he like tried to kill our cult and steal our relics.
No, we do have real beef, but I mean, his impetus to harm us directly isn't there yet.
Yeah. And he never meant for this to happen. He was trying to make good with you guys by taking your relics, killing your cults without you knowing about it.
See, that's the bit that didn't wash for me. Where he's like, "Oh, guys, I was just trying to like go easy on you. I was just trying to like wipe out everyone who worships you and like steal all your like powerful relics. We good? Yeah? No.
No.
We are not good."
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, guy."
Mm-hmm.
Especially like say for one of sort of Khufu's like style, who's like, "Yes, I'm a dedicated servant and chronicler of the judges," and he's like, "Oh, it's so unfair. The judges don't give us any attention. Come with me, guys. We can like steal relics and like leech the energy off them. We good, right?"
Nah. Nah, Jimmy don't play that. Okay, well, that concludes the second session, and we'll be back in 26 the modern times of 2016 when everything was okay.
Indeed. Right. Well, thank you very much for running that, Johannes. I very much enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
I shall stop the stream here.